Velkommen til Hemmelige Foreninger 2. Jeg vil fortsætte med de mange forskellige foreninger og hen ad vejen udvikle og afsløre, hvordan det hænger sammen med dit liv og økonomi og politik, så du kan få et lille billede af, hvor rigtigt det er som det første, men også hvor farlig situationen er lige nu. Og hvorfor jeg sidder og laver det, jeg gør. Fordi der er simpelthen så mange mennesker, som sover ved alteret endnu. Sover bag rattet. Altså, de kommer ikke i tv. Og andre snakker ikke om det, så det må jo absolut være konspiration og absolut tidsspilde at bruge sin tid til at lytte til. Men hold nu magle, hvor tager du fejl, altså, eller tager man fejl. Jeg tror ikke, du tager fejl, fordi hvis du ikke troede på, at der var noget galt, så sagde du ikke at lytte til det her. Så super fedt, at du lytter til det. Og at du har valgt at prøve at vågne lidt mere op og forstå, og forstå, hvor vigtigt det er at lære noget. Fordi du er måske ikke typen, der læser eller har tid til at studere eller noget, og det er nemmere, og det er måske nemmere for dig at læne tilbage i din stol, eller på hvad du end gør, og lytte derfrem til. Det er jo forskelligt, hvordan folk de helst vil have sådan noget, men ikke desto mindre, så lad os starte ud. Jeg vil starte med Romklubben. Romklubben blev oprettet i 1968 af den italienske forretningsmand Aurelio Pesesi. Jeg håber det var rigtigt udtalt. My French is not the best. Og beskrives som en global tænketank, der forsøger at manipulere international politik og økonomi via deres tætte forbindelser til den herskende elite, Verdensbanken og den internationale valutafond. På dens hjemmeside www.clubofrome.org anfører den i sin opgave som at handle som en uafhængig, verdensomspændende, ikke-officiel katalysator for forandring ved at påpege de mest afgørende problemer, menneskeheden står overfor, at analysere dem i den verdensomspændende problematisk globale kontekst, at udforske fremtidige alternative løsninger og udarbejde fremtidsscenarier, samt at kommunikere sådanne problemer ud til de mest betydningsfulde offentlige og private beslutningstagere, såvel som den brede offentlighed. Så vidt så godt. En fuldstændig liste med navne og adresser på godt 100 medlemmer, aktivmedlemmer, associerede medlemmer og æresmedlemmer er anført på hjemmesiden, dog uden de mange fremtrædende skikkelser fra verdenssamfundets institutioner, sammen med et uddrag fra deres konferencer og talrige forskningsopgaver. Romklubben blev for alvor kendt i 1972 med sin udgivelse af Grænser for vækst, der advarer om, at jordens ressourcer ikke var ubegrænsede og understregede de negative konsekvenser af jordens hastigt voksende befolkning. Og det er meget vigtigt, at du lytter med her. Bogen blev øjeblikkeligt en bestseller, oversat til 30 sprog og solgt i over 4 millioner eksemplarer. Uheldigvis var det disse afsløringer, der siden satte gang i debatten blandt konspirationsteoretikere om, at Romklubben har været medvirkende til et af de største folkedrab, verden nogensinde har oplevet. Udbredelsen af AIDS, som af visse kilder hævdes at være menneskeskabte virus. Der er udviklet som følge af tophemmelige anbefalinger fra klubben til den herskende elite, CIA og Bilderberggruppen, som nævnt i forrige video. Og det giver jo lige præcis et billede af, hvordan de hænger sammen. Hvordan alt sammen hænger sammen. Vi fortsætter. Det hævdes, at planen var at ramme uønskede elementer i gåseøjne, med henblik på udryddelse, herunder sorte, latinamerikanske og homoseksuelle samfundsgrupper, ifølge William Cooper. Se www.thewatcherfiles.com WATCHERFILES.com Cooper COOPER/AIDS.htm. William Cooper blev myrdet den 5. november 2001 af politiet. Er navnet på det projekt, der udviklede AIDS, MK-Naomi. Det afrikanske kontinent blev smittet gennem koppevaccine i 1977. USA's befolkning blev smittet i 1978 med en hepatitis B-vaccine via Centrene for Sygdomskontrol og New Yorks blodbank. Det var ikke første gang, der var blevet slået til lyd for begrænsning af befolkningstilvæksten. I 1948 udsendte George W. McKinnon fra det amerikanske udenrigsministerium Foreign Policy Statement -21 FPS-21, der fremhæves nødvendigheden for USA at udtænke en plan til at løse problemet med voksende befolkninger. Det er rigtig skræmmende. Den 16. marts 1970 afviste præsident Richard Nixon angiveligt lov PL 91-213, som sanktionerede stabilisering af de afrikanske befolkninger i Sub-Sahara og udpegede John D. Rockefeller den 3. til at tage sig af dette problem. MK-Naomi var heller ikke det første CIA-forskningsprogram, der skulle fremstille og teste medikamenter og biologiske stoffer. I 1953 udviklede et 10-års projekt kaldet MK-Ultra nervemediciner til bevidsthedskontrol og adfærdsstyring. Det blev efterfulgt af MK-Search og MK-Often. I 1969 anmodede Dr. Robert McMahon fra Forsvarsministeriet så om $10 millioner fra Kongressen til udvikling inden for 5 år til 10 år af et syntetisk biologisk middel, over for hvilket der ikke findes nogen naturlig immunitet. Beløbet blev tildelt i 1970 under navnet HR 150090 og finansierede MK-Naomi-projektet, som anvendte molekylære bioteknikker til at fremstille AIDS-lignende retrovirer. På dette tidspunkt var CIA også i gang med at undersøge anvendeligheden af etiske våben, der baseret på genetiske forskelle og DNA-variationer kunne rettes selektivt mod specifikke etniske grupper. Alle disse eksperimenter foregik hos Special Operation Division på Fort Dietrich i Frederick i Maryland. De, der mener, at AIDS er menneskeskabte, anfører som afgørende bevismateriale et AIDS-rutediagram, der hævdes at koordinere over 20.000 afhandlinger og 15 års forskning ind i et føderalt program til udvikling af en virus, der til forveksling ligner AIDS-epidemiologien. Med støtte i offentlighedsloven er der allerede offentliggjort veldokumenterede kendsgerninger fra den beskidte historie om USA's eksperimenter med mennesker i de sidste 70 år. I 1930'erne blev amerikanske soldater og civile hospitalpatienter uafvidende benyttet som forsøgskaniner i en række eksperimenter med stråling. I 1930'erne begyndte Tuskegee syfilisundersøgelsen at følge 200 sorte mænd, der havde fået diagnosticeret syfilis uden nogensinde at være blevet gjort bekendt med deres sygdom, for at man kunne observere sygdommens senfølger. Et senatudvalg, der foretog en undersøgelse af MK Ultras fremgangsmåder, har konkluderet siden oprettelsen i begyndelsen af 1950'erne og indtil nedlæggelsen i 1963, har CIA-programmet ved at give LSD til uafvidende, ikke frivillige forsøgspersoner, demonstreret ledelsens svigt i forhold til at tilgodese enkelte individers rettigheder og udstikke effektive retningslinjer for de ansatte. Selvom det var kendt, at forsøgene var farlige, blev menneskeliv bragt i fare og ignoreret. Selvom det var tydeligt, at USA's love blev overtrådt, fortsatte man med forsøgene. Så sent som under den sidste Golfkrig fik soldaterne en cocktail af eksperimenterende medikamenter, der medførte, at tusindvis bagefter kom til at lide af Golfkrigssyndrom. Den 3. oktober 1995 indrømmede præsident Clinton omsider, at strålingseksperimenterne fandt sted, og at USA's regering var erstatningspligtig. I mellemtiden fortsætter AIDS, men at det breder sig over det afrikanske kontinent, det spiller ingen rolle. Grænser for vaccinen er blevet afskrevet som et falsk dokument, der ifølge en af klubbens direktører anvendte en vildledende computermodel af de 50 millioner mennesker, der døde af AIDS i løbet af de seneste 25 år, var over 70% af dem fra Afrika, og der breder epidemien sig stadig. Oprindelsen til AIDS er stadig hyldet i mystik. Men én ting er sikkert, uanset hvad sandheden er, så efterkommes klubbens indtrængende forslag i dag med hensynsløse og stadig stigende effektivitet. Det var lidt om Romklubben. Jeg synes lige, jeg vil vende den lidt, inden vi kører videre til den næste klub. Altså. Og lige præcis det her med viruser og vacciner og alt det her, som du nok højst sandsynligt har kommet forbi på nettet. Jeg tror ikke, du skal regne med, at det er blot konspirationsteorier. Tager man sådan en som Bill Gates, det er virkelig skræmmende, hvad han står og siger til en konference, og folk de sidder og klapper af det. Jeg vil prøve at finde videoen her til dig.
Over 26 billion tons. For each American, it's about 20 tons. For people in poor countries, it's less than 1 ton. It's an average about 5 tons for everyone on the planet. And somehow we have to make changes that will bring that down to zero. It's been constantly going up. It's only various economic changes that have even flattened it at all. So we have to go from rapidly rising to falling and falling all the way to zero. This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra. But let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Hallo, og jeg troede vacciner var for det bedste for folk. Prøv at lægge mærke til, hvordan han siger det. Og healthcare, det er jo fuldstændig sygt. Det lyder mere som forgiftningsmetoder, ikke?
But there we see an increase of about 1.3. The second factor is the services we use. This encompasses everything. The food we eat, clothing, TV, heating. These are very good things. Getting rid of poverty means providing these services to almost everyone on the planet. And it's a great thing for this number to go up. In the rich world, perhaps the top 1 billion, we probably could cut back and use less. But every year, this number on average is going to go up.
Og her lige om lidt, så vil du høre, hvad han anser for at være det mest vigtige inden for 50 år. Nemlig at få menneskeheden ned på 0.
So this is a wish. It's a very concrete wish that we invent this technology. If you gave me only one wish for the next 50 years, I can pick who's president, I can pick a vaccine, which is something I love, or I could pick that this thing that's half the cost with no CO2 gets invented. This is the wish I would pick. This is the one with the greatest impact. If we don't get this wish, the division between the people who think short-term and long-term will be terrible, between the US and China, between poor countries and rich, and most of all, the lives of those 2 billion will be far worse.
Og hvis du ikke synes, det ringer nogle klokker inde i dig, hvis du ikke synes, at det siger dig rigtigt noget, og du synes, det lyder umiddelbart ganske uskyldigt, så prøv at høre her.
What is the Illuminati? Who are the practitioners of this ancient faith that certainly didn't begin in 1775, 1776? Where is our world going? How is the Illuminati plan progressing? We are joined for the rest of the hour by best-selling author, researcher, occult researcher, Jordan Maxwell. And Jordan Maxwell really is a great political and geopolitical, but also esoteric mind. And I want him today to use a few examples that he brought up to me that people can easily understand of programming in Hollywood and in television. And then I want to ask him, why do we suddenly see open satanic rituals at the Super Bowl with Madonna and with all the other big singers and people? What are they trying to usher in at the Olympics and the rest of it? Why do they believe ritual is so powerful? Why do they believe if they tell you in a Tom Clancy book 2 years before what they actually do, how that lesser magic, as they call it, gives them power? And you can argue it's really giving them power. Or is it programming our subconscious? Is it science or is it occult? Do they really believe in spirits at Skull and Bones, or are they using it as an archetype in the Carl Jung way? Let's just get past all the religious dogma and what men and priests try to say God is, the universe is. Let's talk about what the elite themselves believe. I've been to Bohemian Grove infiltrating it. I'm telling you, they were in religious rapture. They believe they're worshiping Lucifer. But are there people above them that are being scientific about it? What is the internet about and this new singularity? And the fact that I believe feeding all of our data into it, the internet is already a AI conscious system because humans are interfacing with it at such a level that it is already conscious and is able to predict the future, which they admit. They admit it's able to predict the future. I call that a being. Will Lucifer, if it's a real entity from his perspective, become godlike with the artificial, technological, omnipresent system they're building on this planet to be duplicated into space? Are they building the godship? Now, again, this is their view. I know what their deepest secrets are. I know Jordan Maxwell has talked to a lot of the highest level initiates of the Illuminati, and I know he can't talk about a lot of that. He gets threatened. But I want to get his take on it all today. So Jordan Maxwell, thank you for joining us. We'll talk more about this later in the hour. But first, I know there's folks that have websites that aren't yours. Your official websites have been taken over before. You, up front, give people the real official place people go to find your work, because I know a lot's been done to shut your funding off. And it's been rough for you and your family, so I know you don't want to bring this up, but I do. Up front, how do people support you?
Well, thank you, Alex, for being on the show and always being there as a good friend. The only place I have on the web now that's legitimately mine is called Jordan Maxwell Show, S-H-O-W, very simple, Jordan Maxwell Show. It's a small podcast that some of my friends helped put together, and so I have at least an email for that. And so that's the only thing I have at the moment. I was going good for a while until I got sabotaged. But if you want to contact me, I'm not allowing any comments to be made because I got too many negative comments.
Sure, the trolls love to come after you. I think it's best you just put out your info. You've been fighting for 60 years. I think you deserve to just put out your info.
That's what I feel. I'm tired of struggling to justify myself. And so I'm tired of my name being ridiculed, my work being ridiculed and sabotaged. So I've just put it out there, and I figure whoever's supposed to hear me will, and whoever's not supposed to hear me won't. So I just do the best I can under the circumstances.
And folks can find a donate button there to keep the radio show going. I know you've had health issues and some family has, so it's been rough for you. Wow, so much going on. Icon of the awakening movement, Jordan Maxwell. You heard my whole preface of what the elite are trying to build. Who are the Illuminati? What really makes them tick? At their core, what are we facing?
Well, I think you were exactly right when you were talking to the young lady before the break. The mere fact that the entire world seems to be in the grip of a demonic, otherworldly power, which is sucking mankind down into oblivion with demonic depravity, secret societies, black robes, all of the occultism of the world is now in your face. And so I totally agree with you that there is a spiritual dynamics or a matrix at work. But that being the case, then that would explain why all systems are demonic now. All of our institutions and governmental agencies, educational systems, are all under some kind of a other world, what I would call demonic and depravity. And it implies that there's something very, very big going on with not just America, but with the whole entire human family on the earth. And that is frightening because most people have no idea of the severity and the perimeters of how big this thing really is. It's in banking, it's in religion, government. It is a cancer that's eating up the body politics of the earth, period. So it is, I believe, a war between the good and evil, between the darkness and light, between God and the devil. Although I've been talking about religion and theology, which is my favorite subject anyway. But I'm interested also in symbolism and pattern recognition. And my God, when you look at what's going on in Hollywood, that's filled with pattern recognition. And give you some examples. In the Pirates of the Caribbean, an ABC Disney movie, they're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, who were the Pirates of the Caribbean? They were the Knights Templars, the pirates, like Disneyland has Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, the Pirates of the Caribbean were the international bankers of today. Their flag.
That's why at Skull and Bones,
that's right.
and this is on record, and at Bohemian Grove, they have Pirates of the Caribbean iconography in Lafitte's name and literally worship the Pirates of the Caribbean. Explain why that is.
That's because first of all, their flag, as you said, It's called the Skull and Bones, the Jolly Roger. It's a black flag, and black also symbolizes the planet Saturn. So we're getting into Saturn.
And the Nazis wore black and wore the skull and bones.
That's it, exactly. So what we're talking about is an enormous, ancient, as you said, ancient system of theology and religion, going back into the demonic world, going back into the ancient pagan world. It's frightening in its implications. But so if you understand, well, you know what, let me give you an example first, that if you have a two-story building and you're going to put a lot of weight on the second floor, the smart thing to do is to go downstairs with a building inspector, get on a ladder, go up and look at the foundation of the floor you're going to build on before you go putting weight on it. So what you're doing is you're standing under the foundation to see if it's going to hold that kind of weight. Now you are standing under to get understanding. So unless you understand how the world works, meaning go down below the surface and see how this stuff really works, not how you thought it worked. And Pirates of the Caribbean is just an example of how they are pushing the idea of the Knights Templar or the international banking elite. Why, for instance, is the Federal Reserve and the Internal Revenue, and remember that word, internal revenue, is telling you something. So why is the Federal Reserve and Internal Revenue headquartered in Puerto Rico? Why? It's because that's where the Pirates of the Caribbean stashed all of their stuff when they were robbing on the high seas.
Look at how the globalists are all offshore in the Caribbean, and look at the IRS symbol. It's a hidden symbol. Somebody thinks it's an eagle. No, with scales, no. It's the Egyptian god there with the scales of life hanging over with its hand, holding it.
Absolutely. You're right. And I'm fascinated with the idea that you understand the complexity of this, because it's very, very big. Another symbol that's very important, the dollar sign, the symbol for money. You know, it's a little S with a line through it. Sometimes it's an S with two lines through it. You know what I'm talking about? The symbol for the dollar symbol. Well, the I going through the S. The I represents insurance, and the S is for scrip. So the IS is insurance scrip. It goes back to the 14th Amendment. It goes back to 1870. It can even go back further when you understand Lorenzo Tonti. Remember that name, Lorenzo Tonti, T-O-N-T-I. Lorenzo Tonti was the man, he was an Italian-born French banker who gave us the conceptual idea of tontine insurance, which is spelled T-O-N-T-I-N-E, insurance, tontine, which was the idea developed during the 1700s with the common banking system, one common banking system for everyone. Therefore, you don't have to worry about individuals having too much power. Everybody does one thing. They bank with the common central bank. That's Tontine, Lorenzo Tonti. And so obviously when you have a central bank, you have a common fund, which gives us our word common. It's like
it means a master contract, a tontine.
That's it. That's exactly right. And so once you begin to see how tontine insurance is connected to international banking, the common fund or a central bank, then you take it to the next level, a central bank for the world, for the whole earth. So all of this stuff has been planned a long time ago, as you say. And another classic example in Hollywood for the movies and television shows today dealing with zombies. Why? It's because in America, in North America, and most likely throughout the rest of the world, in all counties, and everybody on the earth is in a county. I don't care where you go on the earth. County level is where the knowledge of how governments operate is on the county level. Well, in all counties, you have something called cemetery law. You have something called cemetery law, which in all counties, the land is under cemetery law. And so it doesn't matter if it's commercial or residential. Cemetery law is the law of properties and real estate. And so if you are the only kind of people that are walking around talking in cemeteries and living in cemeteries are zombies. So what Hollywood is trying to tell you and tell the world, all over the world, they're telling you, you are zombies. You're walking around dead. You know nothing. You understand nothing. You've got nothing. What little bit you had were taken from you. Your masters are taken from you.
And by the way, the military, Marines, and soldiers are now taught the public are zombies when they practice mowing everyone down. I just showed mainstream news. So that when they really mow us down, well, we're just zombies. It's dehumanizing an enemy. You have to dehumanize an enemy. So we're being globally taught humans are ugly, gross, bad. Abortions are beautiful. It's like giving birth to kill your baby. Have you seen that new video put out by the Planned Parenthood people?
No, God, no.
They go, it's like giving birth. I have a photo of the baby before they chopped it up. Oh, total Satanism, inverting it. It's not real Satanism running around a black club and chop up a baby. That's only partial. To beautiful and wonderful like a Hale-Bopp cult member, that is to them true Luciferianism. But go ahead.
Boy, you were absolutely correct. And as I said, this seems to be a worldwide phenomena based on ancient occultism, which can be traced directly back to demonism, devil worship, satanic worship. All of this is, and even when you deal with the word Satan, it can be traced back to Saturn and Saturnian worship. And, and
tell us about the ancient worshipers of Saturn.
Yeah, Saturn is very, very important because that's another symbol in Hollywood that's in your face. The ancient worshipers of Saturn, Saturn was referred to as the inhibitor. He was Lord of the Rings. Well, of course, Saturn is Lord of the Rings.
And he creates one system to bind everyone into him in the chains. So the rings are the chains, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's why in the ancient world, women were told to listen to their god, Saturn. So he was Lord of the Rings. So they would wear an earring. Men were to get married before their god. So they wear a wedding ring. And now you have pedophile rings. You have political rings. You have a ring of power. And in Hollywood, of course, you have Lord of the Rings. They're telling you something with Lord of the Rings. One of the movies was called Two Towers. You need to understand that there's
that's totally Masonic.
Totally demonic and depravity, and people have no idea in the world how deep this stuff really goes. But you see it. You know, if you're trained to see something, it's very quick to pick it out.
Well, it's like once you know what ancient symbols mean, you can suddenly read the hieroglyphs. But if you don't know, it's a bunch of gibberish. We've learned, you know, how to read their hieroglyphs, and it's everywhere. Their gang signs are everywhere.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. They're banking, educational. Yeah, I mean, even in the ancient Roman Empire, they had a tremendous sewer arrangement. They called the sewer in ancient Rome the system. So, I mean, it's not by chance. We call it an educational system, a governmental system, a banking system. Because it is a sewer. It's a sewer system. It's lies, deception, manipulation.
Let me ask you this.
Yep.
Everyone comes to the conclusion, whether it's biblical, you name it, that it's an off-world, not of this world system controlling us. And now the science shows that there is an energy field controlling and holding the universe in, that it's basically a hologram. I mean, we're in the middle of space, but when you look at it, you get to the level of understanding that is a spirit. It is a dimensional program that is literally guiding humans as agents to the one ring. And then we've all been given in the system, whether we want to be part of it or not, our own little rings, our own little cell phones, our own little systems, little microcosms of the larger one, where we are bound to it, to where even if our spirit resonates against it, it doesn't matter. We were brought up within the chains of it.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. And that's why children, when a baby is born, before the baby leaves the hospital, they want to take a print of its feet. You ever seen that, Alex?
That's sent off for collateral on the IMF and World Bank.
That's exactly what it is, so that they are taking your soul. The symbolism is that they own your soul. Your soul's on your feet. So before your feet touch the ground, they have now taken your soul. print. And so from there, your body, your very body today is a security
Sure.
on the stock exchange.
5,000-year-old Babylonian symbol Egyptian, the double helix snake for medicine. You look at 1855, the British royalty publicly funds millions of pounds. At that time, it's like billions today. They said, you will discover the DNA. You will discover the biometrics. They knew the secrets before they'd been developed by science. That's otherworld intelligence, isn't it?
Absolutely. And from there, you could go to all of the different temples that are found in the oceans of the world, off the coast of Cuba, off the coast of Okinawa, all of the different temples, as I said, underwater, all of the strange pyramids around the globe. And so all of this implies a higher intelligence has been on this earth for many, many thousands of years that we've never been told, and that there's something very evil coming this way, and it's ultimately to destroy the human race as a such and make the whole human race into some sort of a computerized unit. And I totally agree with you, and I say it again with the assessment that you had before with the young lady when you talked about, well, it's not one, it's many. It's evil, period, on the earth, period. It has nothing to do with one particular group. I have been looking at all of these groups, since 1959. I am partial to looking at the Vatican because behind the Vatican was one of the first corporations on the earth, and it gave to the British the idea of corporations from the corporations in Britain. Called the city, which is a corporation.
Sure, that's openly that's where we get the corporate law that came out of Rome, then into the church, and that's the black nobility.
That's exactly right, and that's why the whole idea today, the way it works, it's been refined and mutated so that today you yourself, your wife, and your children are a corporation. You are for instance, if I see you with some girl and I say, Alex, that girl is bad company, and you say you need to mind your own business. She's going to be my wife. She's going to be my partner. And I'm saying, wait a minute, partner, business, company? You're talking corporation.
Venture.
That's why, yeah. And then so when you die, you're a corpse. Why? Because you're a corporation. And there's that gets into maritime admiralty law and how many, it gets also into the fact that there's two of everything. I ask people, how many states are in the federal union of the United States? And they would tell you 50 if they're smart. Most of them say more than that. But 50 states, no, that's not correct. It's 100 states are in our union because every state is two states. Every state, you have California state or Cal state or New York state.
And that's why they break it into 10 FEMA regions and 10 kingdoms. The UN even uses the Revelation terminology.
That's exactly right. So as I said, it's an incredible development in human history that evil has now dominated the entire planet. And that the method of today lies, deception. But the reason it works so well is because it has, I believe, outside intervention. We have outside help from off-world.
Demonic providence. Stay there. Jordan Maxwell, giving him the floor. He may even do some overdrive with us today if he has the energy. He's on fire today. Jordan Maxwell, I've been throwing in some points, adding to what you're saying, but I'm going to try to, as much as I can, sit back and have you get into more. You started getting into the Vatican. Talk about that if you'd like. The EU, Russia, where you see the world going. And again, who are the Illuminati? Obviously, you're saying it's an off-world spirit and entity. The Bible, it's the devil. Others, it's, clearly every culture said this. Clearly, we're in the middle of deep space. I was thinking about how there's a parasite. In fact, you guys were going to print me that Wikipedia on it, that cats have, and I was reading how 1/3 of the world is infected with it, and how it's a microscopic amoeba that's where you get the term crazy cat lady, that literally programs you to like the smell of cats and cat pee, so you will keep the cats around you. And there's another similar amoeba that gets into snails and reprograms its brain to go up to the top of trees and commit suicide where birds are, so it'll be eaten, so that more of the birds crap it out that's then eaten by the snail. Now, if an amoeba, and I'm really going to do some big reports on this because it's an example of like Under the Skin for Real or something like that sci-fi movie, that what else is there in this universe we don't know about, that amoebas infect 1/3 of Earth. In fact, some numbers are 40%. In fact, I'll show people the amoeba right here. It's toxoplasmosis, if I'm pronouncing that right, parasitic disease, including humans. And we can actually show people shots of it, a tiny fluke. Up to 1/3 of the world's human population is estimated to carry an infection. It kills some people, but most people are just irritable, aggressive, but again, want more cats, and it programs you to want to have the smell of cat urine around. Now imagine an amoeba that programs the human brain to want to have more cats around so that you can continue spreading the infection. This is on record. Cat poop parasites may pose public health hazard, study suggests, NBC. May post, maybe the ancients were right, don't have cats around. Where did this start? Egypt took a Nile cat that was wild and bred it as a small cat, a little bit bigger than a house cat, and bred into the cats we have today. I'm not on a jihad against cats, folks. I'm just telling you that it is a parasite carrying, might as well be carrying a space alien, folks, that literally takes over your brain, lowers your IQ, and makes you a servant of the cat. Okay? And this is the way this works. Yeah, they found it. That's the original Egyptian cat. And so the Egyptians were totally insane, infected by this, worshiping cats. And again, I don't know how this fits in. I'm just saying my gut tells me it hooks into a lot more about what, this is a physical parasite no one seems to know about. And that literally causes massive brain damage in millions of children worldwide every year. And all sorts of autism, and the list goes on and on. And imagine what other parasites there are we don't know about. Spiritual, dimensional parasites. Am I going in the right direction, Jordan Maxwell?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. And I was going to throw in that about Egypt, the continual, perpetual worship of the cat. And we've had movies of cat gods and all of this having to do with cats and animals in general. Yeah, you're right. There is some sort of a legitimate de jure magical system at work. And the technologies that we have today, look at where we've come in the past 100 years. And I often think, where did all of this high technology come from? I am totally convinced of because of things that should happen to me, I'm totally convinced that we are being fed high technology from off-world entities. I don't believe that the humans are that clever to go from where we were 100 years ago to where we are today, because we're on the edge of oblivion with our technology, and Hollywood's even telling you that in movies. So why did we get so far and so deep into the occult world in 100 years with our technology, unless somebody is feeding it to us, knowing full well what they have in mind for the human family? We're like goldfish in a bowl. Somebody's sitting out there watching us and is leading the whole human race into its downfall. So I have the highest of admiration for God, for the concepts of spirituality, for the divine presence in the universe. I have no respect for the systems of education, the media, religion, the organized religions. I'm just telling you, there's something very big going on that is implying otherworld interference. This is why I said, too, before, Alex, that people talk about evolution. I think the word is intervention. I think if you go back, you'll begin to see that we've been messed with a long time ago.
Well, that's what the Bible says. That's what Genesis says. That's
exactly right. And I talked with rabbis about this back in 1960, and so when that's a whole subject if we got into just on the biblical implications of who created us and where we came from. And I remember asking a rabbi, a high-ranking rabbi in America back in the 60s, if I said in Genesis 9:1, it talks about Noah after the flood of Noah's day, when everyone was killed off by the great flood. It says that when Noah came off the ark, God said to him and his family, go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth. And I asked the rabbis at that time, there was more than one, it was a group of them, and I said, is that a correct translation, replenish the earth? Being re means do again. And they said, yes, that's correct. It says redo. Obviously, if there were people here, the flood killed off everyone. If God wants people on the earth, then you have to replenish the earth. I said, fine. Then what about Genesis 1:28? When God is creating Adam and Eve, and he says exactly the same thing. Go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth. Do it again. And they looked at me and they said, well, obviously, because Adam and Eve's not the first creatures.
Another creation before it.
That's exactly right. We have something called pre-Adamic man. Look it up, and you begin to see that there's a world of knowledge that you have not been told about this earth, and that would explain all of the great temples and all the great,
Well, that's the thing. Temples. The atheists and people look at the Bible and they say, oh, look, it's kooky. One man and one woman replenish the earth. No, it was people perfect in their generations that hadn't had their genetics manipulated. Of course there was stuff going on. And it's all preachers the last 200 years who are scared of science and everything, distorting what the Bible really says and then discrediting it. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely incredible because it's all there. And another thing that once we get on the Bible, I'm fascinated with stuff that's there right in your face. Genesis 1:2. Says, and the earth, Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But Genesis 1:2 says, and the earth was without form and void. Without form and void, logic alone would dictate, what are you talking about? God has created something, but it has no form and it's void? What are you talking about?
It's digital, it's data. He's formed it as a blueprint, but has not actually built it.
Yes, and so we find that the words that are translated into English, the English translators were very good with the King's English. They weren't that hot with Greek and Hebrew back then. So we now know that the words that were translated without form and void was in Hebrew tohu vavohu. Tohu vavohu is correctly translated not without form and void, but has became, the earth became a waste and a desolation. That's very important because if you go back to Jeremiah, the 4th chapter, and read where Jeremiah says, I was on my bed and God gave me a vision. And God gave me the vision and I saw the earth. When it was a meeting place for the gods, it was a meeting place for the Elohim, the gods. And there was no man found on the earth, but there were beautiful cities, there were beautiful animals. And then he says, in Jeremiah, he says, I saw tohu vavohu. That's the second time that term is used. And so what he's saying is, I saw the earth when it was a beautiful meeting place of the gods. It was beautiful animals, great cities.
But saw it again when it was overwritten.
Exactly. And then he says, I saw tohu vavohu, meaning, and it became a waste and a desolation. Became, not formed without form and void. No, became a waste and a desolation. It means something. The Bible is telling you that there have been ancient civilizations here, many, many thousands, if not far, far more than that, going back millions of years. There's a history to this earth that we have not been privy to know
Well,
about.
undoubtedly, the elite believe that, and they believe they're worshiping these gods and goddesses that they believe are entities. Whether this is all real or not, the elite believe it, and the systems of control they've gotten have put them in control. On average, what are the different stratas of the different Illuminati cults? I mean, at rock bottom, most of them are just servants of power and lust after power. I would case kind of Satanist. Or hedonist.
Well, I totally agree with you. It's just the fallacy of being human, because the scripture talks about there's a war going on in our members. The Apostle Paul talked about there's a war going on in our members between good and evil, and that has to do with Armageddon. We can get into that one of these days. And the number 666 and what that actually in fact means.
Explain what 666 means.
It's too big of a subject to get into.
It's the sun god calculation, isn't it, for the Egyptian temple?
Yeah, that's one. That's one of the applications of it.
But
yeah.
let he who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number, 666. I mean, just give us a small quantify from your research what 666 means to the initiates of the Illuminati.
Well, it simply means that we, we humans are the beast. It's a revelation when you understand that we humans are the beast of Revelation. And it has to do with the war going on inside of us between God and the devil, between good and evil, between light and darkness. And that
let he who hath understanding reckon the number, for it is the number of a man. It's telling us.
Precisely. That's exactly right. And so there's a whole, we could talk about that on another program, get into the really esoteric Illuminati interpretation of Scripture and how it's being used in government and banking and religion.
What does it mean to say we're made in the image of the Creator? And then if we're 666 and that's the sun god, I mean, is it saying it's the war by Lucifer to suppress us, not from the New Age sense of becoming gods, but realizing that we are almost the nanotech of God? And I guess the King James Version says, I'm going from memory, let us make man in our image. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the Bible says. It doesn't overthrow the Bible. It confirms it. And this is what the elites believe. Now, it's open for any interpretation. We're just discussing this here on air because the elites at Skull and Bones, the Bushes, get in coffins and do things I can't say on air, on record, believing they're channeling a off-world female entity known as Eulogia. Okay? So most of the people you see on TV, Francois Mitterrand, the Tony Blair, hits the ground every morning, according to mainstream news, and is possessed by the spirit of light. His wife's a witch. The point is, this is what they're into. They believe all this. They're running things. So we should know the knowledge they know so we at least understand them. They're laughing at us, and Obama is saying that the Ukrainian government is elected when it's not elected, or that 2 + 2 = 5. And Jordan, I'm now seeing a war against reality now like I've never seen, where instead of trying to spin stuff, they just outright lie now and just are, I guess, trying to acclimate us. What's happening, Jordan Maxwell? JordanMaxwellShow.com is his only official website, folks. And you can go there and support him and donate. He's had all his books, everything taken away from him. And he's old and, worked a lot hard, and it's hard for anybody to try to get their stuff back, but support him there. Jordan, what is your take on what's happening currently in the state of the world? Then we'll get more into ancient history and things in the next hour.
Well, I'm thinking in relation to what I just said before the break about the rabbi said to me, God never created man. It doesn't say that because in Hebrew, man is ish, I-S-H, ish, or ishi. And but it doesn't say, come let us make ishi in our image and after our likeness. No, the word is A-D-M, Adam, not Adam. A-D-A-M. No, it's A-D-M in Hebrew, which means something, A-D-M. And so what the rabbi said is, read it correctly. It says, God said, come let us. Who is us? Come let us make man in our image, after our likeness. It's not saying God made man, but come let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So it's implying, excuse me, it's implying that man was already here. Someone came and said, come, let us make this creature the world calls man into an image like us, to look like us. Well, if you remember in Genesis 18, when Abraham, that's just one of many examples, but in Genesis 18, the whole chapter is dealing with Abraham and Sarah when 3 men, M-E-N, 3 men come walking up into the camp. Abraham ran out and bowed down and said, what is my Lord saying to his servant? And they said that they were on their way to on business. And so the Bible says Abraham insisted that the 3 men sit and have something to eat first. And so Sarah, his wife, fixed dinner for them. They sat under the trees and had dinner. Then 2 of them got up and left on the way, but one of them stayed. And the scripture said that one who stayed with Abraham was the Almighty God, the Creator.
Melchizedek.
That was one of the names for it.
I don't mean to put him on the spot. I forgot to ask during the break. Jordan, you want to take a few calls, a few wild card questions, or do you want to just talk another 20 minutes?
Well, I mean, there's so much we could talk about, but we can always do it later with other things. There was a couple of comments I wanted to make about the subject we were talking about before we go to the calls. Because in Genesis 18, it says 3 men come walking up into the camp, and Abraham recognized that it was Almighty God. And in the scriptures, it's in capital letters. It was Almighty God. And as I said, the word for God walked and talked with Adam in the cool of the evening. Walked and talked was a word in Hebrew, which means to be able to hear someone walking on leaves and branches. So it was as if somebody actually was walking and talking with this creature we call Adam. Now, if you remember that the Apostle Paul said in Christian scripture that some have he said, always be hospitable to all men, for some have entertained angels unaware. So the implication both in Judaism and Christianity is that the God, the Creator, looks like us. He said, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Therefore, it's very possible that what we are seeing as world leaders are, in point of fact, not human. They look like us. And of course, in Hollywood, we've got all these movies for years where all these alien demons and off-world entities, but they look human. They look like us. And the Apostle Paul did say that some have entertained angels unaware. So what is the implication of this? Very simple. We may be, right now, the human race may be in the clutches of entities who look like human, but this would explain why there is no compassion whatsoever for humans. They don't care about killing people, babies, children, burning and destroying, because in point of fact, in my opinion, they're not fully human. It's an incredible story, but it's right there in the Bible. And in the Hindu, all of the different religions of the world talk about the aliens who came here who looked like humans and made us. It's an extraordinary story. You better go back and start doing your homework on what the Bible...
Well, this is what the elite believe. I mean, why do you think John Carpenter made a movie about it? Or all these ancient cultures, the body snatchers, all of it. Regardless, this is what the elite believe. So that's why it's important for us to look at it.
That's exactly right. No doubt about it. But yeah, we can take some calls. It doesn't necessarily mean I'll have any answers, but we can talk to calls. I would be happy to.
Well, you know, that's why they promote racism, all this division. They've got to get us fighting with each other while they're literally creating a breakaway civilization. And Ray Kurzweil and all of them say they're going to become God and live forever. So regardless, they're trying to become gods, building a technological tower of Babel. We've only got time for one more final segment with Jordan Maxwell, and I really appreciate him coming on. Look forward to having him back on to cover world events and get into symbolism more. I want to take a few phone calls for him here in just a moment from Frank, Steve, Dustin, and others. But Jordan, take a few minutes to talk about any other subject that you think is important or tidbits you'd like to break down here on air today.
Because this is very important stuff, is how money is created. And it's based, all money is based on water. And once you understand that there are two kinds of law on the earth, we call it the law of the land and the law of the sea. So we've all heard the term the law of the land, but why do you have a law of the land? Because on the opposing side is a law of the sea, the law of water. So we say that a law of water is money, it's banking, the law of water. This is why, where do you have a bank? You go into a bank. Where do you find a bank? It's on both sides of a river. It's called a river bank. What does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the currency, because your money is called currency. It's a current, ebb and flow, back and forth, comes and goes. And so it's a current, and it's called currency, and it's also water. So we say money goes through your hands like water. Of course it's water.
And by the way, in the Academy Award-winning film Network, when he talks to the top globalists, he tells Howard Beale, "You have meddled with the tidal forces of nature, Mr. Beale, and you will atone, and I will not have it." And he describes it as water.
That's exactly right. It is water. And so it's called maritime admiralty. Now, it really gets into some deep and fascinating stuff because the Earth is considered a vessel in space. It's a spaceship. And since it's a vessel in space, it's carrying the blood of the human race. So this is why we have a blood vessel, because it's you are part of a living entity floating through space. And so it all has to do with water, shipping. When your mother, your father manufactured while your mother was in labor, building you in the delivery room, just like you have your refrigerator delivered to you.
And we're human resources.
Exactly, resource. And then when you find out that in order to understand banking and water, the sea, all the terms which are used, and I will get into this later on another program, but so it's on board a ship. So when a ship pulls into a harbor, where the ship parked is called its berth, B-E-R-T-H. A ship is parked in its berth, and every item on that ship coming off represents money. So every item has to have a certificate of manifest. It's called a birth certificate. But when you were born, you came out of your mother's water. Her water broke.
And now they're phasing out the land law, and they're going purely admiralty that's always been known as more authoritarian and oppressive.
Absolutely. And it has to do with the shipping. And this is why you have a citizenship, a companionship, dealership, scholarship, courtship, friendship. It all has to do with shipping. It has to do with monetary money on the high seas. Pirates of the Caribbean, get it? As though there's a world of occult knowledge dealing with banking, with money, how it works. And this stuff is hundreds, if not thousands of years old. It can be traced all the way back to the Phoenicians, Canaanites, Sumerians, and actually back to Babylonia itself. You need to understand how the world really works.
Well, let's set this up now and take a few calls. How about 2 hours someday next week? You tell me what day. Your Skype's great. Looks like you're here in studio with us. We'll do 2 hours because I know you're dead on about the money, the admiralty, the Venetian/Roman admiralty law, which was the first banking bills of lading manifest, and how that became the British Empire when they got run out of Italy and out of France. And it's just all mainline history, and people don't even know mainline history. They have to understand that now they're coming into a new system where they plan to turn off the resources and cull most of the population. So I want to talk about the end game with you. So pick a day before you leave us when we go to break here, and the show's over in a few minutes. Jordan Maxwell, JordanMaxwellShow.com. People should go check things out there and also donate to get your operation back up and running after some health issues and sabotage, so people can certainly hear from him. And you judge a tree by its fruits. Jordan Maxwell really gets people thinking. And that's what matters, is getting people outside the box, or to see the pipes, not to be in the pipes, but outside the pipes, out of the matrix, out of the little tub, little barrel they want to keep us in, and to break the subliminal programming. And it's very close to happening. So we'll talk to him next week. But let's go to 5 calls right now. Quick questions for Jordan Maxwell. Dustin in Nebraska, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I was just wanting to ask, my brother is 2 years done from completing his Jesuit vocation. Do they brainwash priests that are studying to become priests? And then should I warn my brother that we are truth behind Jesuits?
Oh, I'm not really understanding the question.
I mean, he's asking about the Jesuits and if his brother's been brainwashed. Thank you for the call.
Yeah. Well, you just go and do some research on Jesuits and on the Vatican and where it came from, when it was founded, by who founded the Vatican, and then look into the whole concept of something called corporation souls, S-O-L-E, corporation soul. It's a political standing or political office developed by the Vatican for the Vatican. It has to do with royalty in Europe. Just remember, This is a very basic concept. For at least 2,000.
The Vatican gave franchises to royal families.
Exactly, precisely. That's why the royal families of Europe say that they are appointed by God. They have a divine ordination. Well, when you talk about divine, what God? Well, the Vatican.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the Jesuits are brainwashed. They are given Jesuitical thinking, which means triple-sided or more, to see things from all different angles.
Yes, I'm going to add something that I can't explain it fully now, but we will talk about later. This whole idea of the Jesuit influence on world government and world politics is extremely interesting when you get into the religious aspect of Jesus on the earth and the church and Christianity. It's very, very devious. It's very, very big.
Very, very interesting. Let's go ahead and talk to Steve in Maine. You're on the air. Go ahead. Your question.
Hey, Alex. How you doing?
Good, good. Go ahead.
Question for Jordan. Dirigo children.
Again, I'm not hearing it well.
He's saying, our usually people can't hear good on Skype. I don't know why. It's Dirigo children. He wants to know if you know about that.
No, I'm not familiar, I guess, with that term. What was the first word again?
DIRGIO, child.
Oh, yeah. No.
Caller, do you got something that we can to talk about?
A lot of people with these are like people dyslexia, ADHD, and they
they're saying that there's a transformation in children and that the human species is rapidly changing, and these are actually gifted children. I'm familiar somewhat with it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I am too with that, with the indigo children and the,
Yeah, I think you mean indigo children, not Dirigo. Go ahead. Yeah, tell us about indigo children, Maxwell. Thanks, Steve.
Well, I mean, indigo children, the implication is that it's a whole new kind of human that's being born into the world, and it very well might have something to do with God doing it instead of us, because these children that are being born today seem to be far more sensitive and intelligent and inquisitive and knowing things without studying them. When I talk to young children, it's as if they already know there's something wrong. And they're only 7 or 8 years old. They already realize.
Oh, my children say stuff that 75-year-old people wouldn't say, just out of the blue. Exactly. It's unbelievable.
Right.
Well, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Most of the children look totally brain damaged and half dead, but then you're going to see a manifestation, archetypal, epigenetics, you name it, resisting it. You're going to see this is the incredible time to be alive.
You got that right.
It's the great age of exploration here. Let's talk to Frank in West Virginia. Sorry, we got to go fast. Go ahead, Frank.
Yes, just to ask you about this one topic you brought up at quite some length, Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. Now, Mr. Maxwell, you quoted another passage which was correct. However, your understanding that God did not create man is not true. It is clear God created man in his own image.
Oh, I do believe God made man. I mean, he was getting into the other quote, though, about what that definition means.
All about replenish. Yeah, and there's also replenish, which, if you check the root word, this is a primary Hebrew word, the root word, which is malah. It means to fill, not to refill or to fill over again, but just simply to fill.
Well, listen, it's open for debate, and we will take more calls when he's on for 2 hours next week getting into money, but we'll spend at least 30 minutes on calls. I'm sorry to Shelley and Jim, we're out of time. Closing comments. I appreciate this interesting interview. Jordan Maxwell.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Alex, for having me on. And as you said, yes, I've been under attack for a long time, and I'm finally getting an opportunity to be heard, and I thank you for that. And for those people who would like to help me with my legal problems, I'm struggling at 74 years old, I'm struggling to fight to get all that belongs to me that I've worked for all my life, to get it back, but I have to do it in court.
Og det var et lidt bredere afsnit. Han fortæller rigtig meget, Jordan Maxwell, og er virkelig værd at følge. Og følge hans sige, Jordan Maxwell Show. Jeg kan ikke huske, om det var komme eller ork. Men det her, det er sgu rigtig, venner, du. Følg med i de næstkommende videoer. Jeg vil blive ved med at finde ting, som kan få dig til at koble tingene sammen, fordi det hænger sammen det hele. Alt fra regeringer til centralbanker, vores nationalbanker, som er ejet alle sammen af Rothschild-familien og Rockefeller og alle de der Bilderberg-gruppe og Rom-klubben. De har alle sammen, det er top. De sidder i toppen, og de tilbærer det samme Baal, AKA, a.k.a. Lucifer. Og de har konspireret imod os almindelige mennesker, fårene. Vi lever i et slavesystem, og de har skruet op for varmen nu, fordi at de er i gang med en debefolkningsplan, også kaldt Agenda 21. Og for at forstå den, så skal jeg næsten finde nogle dokumenter og ting og sager, som jeg vil vise i en anden video. Men du kan roligt begynde at tro på, at det her det er rigtigt. Og med det, så vil jeg slutte den her. Tak fordi du så med.